The next thing we got to look at here, and this is something that I found very interesting because the rules and bylaws that were being proposed, some of them not so surprising, some of them a little bit surprising. We'll basically just kind of go through the ones that really stuck out to me. There was a handful that came out. I only picked out like 3 of them that I really wanted to discuss here, but altogether, the 2 that I am leaving out, Eagles proposing changing overtime rules to the postseason overtime rules. I'm fine with that. I really feel like at this current point right now, the way the overtime rules in the NFL are just aren't ideal, and there's got to be some way to get it sorted. And to be honest with you, I'm not a super big college football person, but the more college football I consume, and the more I've kind of dipped my toes into college football over the last couple of years, I really like what they do in overtime, and I would love for the NFL to find some sort of system that adopts something along those lines, even if it's not identical. I wouldn't be opposed to seeing something like that in the NFL at this point here. But this, in interest of fairness and everyone getting an opportunity with the football, Eagles proposed that. And then the Lions had a bylaw proposal regarding players on the IR affecting roster sizes before cutdown days. I could only assume that ends up being a positive for teams, so I don't really see what the issue is there other than money. So that'll be something to keep an eye on. But the 3 that I really want to get into that really stuck out to me, we'll pull up this first one here, take a look at it from NFL football ops themselves. The Packers proposing to change Rule 12, Section 1, which would prohibit an offensive player from pushing a teammate who was lined up directly behind the snapper and receives the snap immediately at the snap. So what is this in reference to? Quite obviously, it is in reference to the tush push. Now, I understand the frustration that some of these defenses might be having with this play, and there seems to be it feels like a very 50-50 divide. I am on the side of you've got to figure out a way to stop it, and it is what it is. The play has not resulted in literally a single injury, and at this point, you can't really point towards player safety with it. There are people that just say it's not fair because the defense can't push behind the way the offense can. Maybe some adjusting needs to be done on that front, but I don't feel like we can just outright ban the tush push because defenses are struggling to stop it. The Eagles took the time to figure out how to do this. It's within the confines of the rules. It sounds to me like defenses need to find a way to stop this. And the best way to stop this is to not allow the Eagles to get within 1 to 2 yards of the first down/goal line mark. It's as simple as that. While and easier said than done, that is in its basic form what you have to do. Don't let the Eagles get in a position to be able to go put tush push on 4th and 2, 4th and 1 at the goal line on the 1 or the 2 yard line. You got to play better defense and prevent those situations. That is, in its simplest form, a solution there, but also somebody needs to figure out a way of how to stop this. And like people are pointing to like Chris Jones getting hurt in the Super Bowl, and I thought that was ridiculous because Chris Jones lined up literally sideways. If you go and watch that playback, that was insanity that they even tried having him do that, and I don't know how anyone thought that was a safe way to do that. So, no, surprise, ends up straining. I think it was like his neck, his shoulder, something along those lines. You saw him getting work on it literally right after the play happened. So, I mean, it's just one of those things that I'm kind of against. I don't really want to see the play get put away. I love the toughness aspect of it, and it's just one of those, you got to figure out how to stop us. Our 11 guys are better than your 11 guys. Maybe some tweaking needs to be done in allowing defenses to maybe do a little bit more to counter the play, and I'm a proponent of that because I feel like there are too many plays on offense that benefit offenses, and I will say that is something I'm in favor of potentially seeing there. The second rule that we got to look at here, and this is an interesting one. I didn't think anything of it until I saw this specific tweet here. So the Lions proposing to change Rule 8, Section 4, which is to eliminate an automatic first down as a penalty imposed for defensive holding and illegal contact. So I'm actually in on this, and I'll give you a reason why here. But the reason I found this one so interesting, I didn't really think too much of it at first, other than I was just like, yeah, I kind of agree, because we're in a situation where we're seeing wide receivers have to slow down to catch underthrown balls, and defensive players are getting called for illegal contact and things like that down the field, or pass interference because quarterbacks are throwing bad balls. Carson Wentz made a thing of it while he was in Indianapolis. But this tweet right here is what really stuck out to me when I saw this. And I will say that I had to reformat this tweet because the way Warren Sharp put that tweet together, it was kind of a mess. So I had to reformat it a bit to make it look a little bit nicer. But this is what the tweet is. So the Lions want to get rid of auto first downs for defensive holding and illegal contact penalties. I wonder why that is. Again, this was not on my radar in the slightest until I saw this. It's because the Lions commit by far the most of these penalties in the NFL. Number one most. This rule change would disproportionately help them as compared to other teams, especially as compared to the NFC North. Number of penalties called in the last 2 years of these two specifically, Detroit leading the way by 10 with 26, Green Bay sitting at 16, Chicago at 9, Minnesota at 6, and then on the right there in parentheses, you'll see their actual league-wide rank. So the Lions at number 1, Green Bay is middle of the pack at 15, and then Chicago and Minnesota sitting at the bottom of the league at 30 and 32. Their high rates of man coverage lead to more of these being called, and also just what feels like a little bit more of an, I guess you could say, undisciplined approach to defense for the Lions. This explains a lot more why they may be putting that in. Not calling out the Lions or anything like that, but that is a very interesting piece of information that puts you, almost gives you like a kind of a behind the scenes look as to why certain things get proposed when they do by certain teams. That right there, if that's not motivation to maybe put in a proposal for that, I don't really know what you could call motivation at that point here. But I will say I am in favor of it regardless of that because, again, I do have an issue with what we have been seeing where quarterbacks are throwing bad balls, they're underthrown, a defensive player is tracking the ball, crashing into a wide receiver and getting called for PI, but he's not even looking at the receiver and doesn't know that the receiver's slowing down and getting in his way. We've seen it a lot. And again, Carson Wentz was a huge offender of that when he was in Indianapolis. And just in case you don't know, Colts fan here, so well aware of what was going on, was not a fan of it. So that being said, it is something that in my eyes should be adjusted in some extent. I don't know if just eliminating the auto first down is a thing or if there's just a yard number, whatever it may be, but I'm interested in seeing kind of what goes there. And I know that this doesn't like completely address PI because, again, it's for illegal contact and for defensive holding. I would like to see PI in some capacity get adjusted into that because that's more along the lines of what I'm talking about with Carson Wentz getting away with that kind of stuff. But I mean, holding on the other side of the field when a quarterback isn't even looking in that direction is occurring and he's throwing to the right side of the field, but this happened on the left side. Like, again, I hate the auto first down in that situation, the illegal contact and everything. Again, kind of annoying there. It's one of those things that needs to be adjusted, but I would really like to see the PI get lumped into that as well because that's the one thing that's really egregious. But I have an issue with things getting called when the action's going to one side of the field. It was never going to the other side of the field, but it has to get called for, whatever reason. I don't really know. And then finally, number 3, counting is hard, we have ourselves. And this one I am very much in for as well. The Lions proposing another, this time bylaw, to amend the current playoff seeding format to allow wildcard teams to be seeded higher than division champions if the wildcard team has a better regular season record overall. This is one that I am all for. Now, I don't want to see divisions be made irrelevant. I think that they are a big reason why the NFL works the way it does so well. You look at the MLB, you look at the NBA and the way they've kind of handled certain things, especially the NBA, it makes divisions almost pointless because it's just top 8 teams regardless. I want to see division winners still get a playoff spot, but I had quite a bit of an issue watching the Minnesota Vikings with the record that they had go on the road not in week 1, but in the round 1 of the playoffs. I'm not saying that dictated what happened to them in the playoffs or anything like that, but that is something I did have a bit of an issue with. Division winners, in my eyes, absolutely deserve a playoff spot. But if you have 3 or 4 wins less than another team, I don't think you should be getting home field advantage over them. That does not make sense to me. There are cupcake divisions, every single year. There's usually one. And yes, good job winning your division. But when you're watching a division like the NFC North, where you have 3 teams racking up 10 plus wins in a season, and then you have a division where there's one team that barely scraped 10 victories, I just have an issue with that. So I'm actually all for that one there as well. I really like the idea of it. But we can't eliminate the importance of winning a division altogether. Division winners still get a guaranteed playoff spot, but I do want to see teams with more wins be given higher seeding. That is definitely something I'm game for. And another prime example, when I look back at the Seahawks, 7-9 season, Beastquake, when all that happened that year, they were 7-9, hosting a playoff game against the defending Super Bowl champion Saints. That is one of the situations that I feel like has lived in my head for quite a long time, because that's a team that, in my eyes, probably shouldn't have been hosting a playoff game, especially against a team that had far more wins than they did, far better situation. Because it's so hard to win games in the NFL, and it does not make sense to me to penalize a team just because they didn't win a division. If you win 4 more games than the opponent that you're playing in the playoffs, you should be hosting that football game, not the other way around.